understand you were recording last night?
We were splicing together an already recorded and mixed live album that's done in Europe. And we're just putting it in song order and selecting the right tracks and that kind of thing. We're going to send it back and they're going to make a record over there. Be a double live record.
And do you have a title for that yet?
Yeah, it's going to be called NoMeansNo Live and Cuddly.
And that's going to be a Europe-only release?
I think actually Alternative Tentacles in the States is also going to put it out in the United States. Canada, we might have to do it ourselves.
What's your latest album?
The album that came out last summer was our latest release. It's called Wrong. And that's the third album we've done for Alternative Tentacles in both Europe and America.
Could you just give me a little background on the band? You guys are from BC?
We're from Victoria, BC. We started, me and my brother, John, who was the drummer. It's John Wright, I'm Rob Wright. And we started playing together, sort of just recording on a 4-track about 79, 80. And from then we did deciding that we didn't want to argue with any other persons, we started a 2-piece band. It's a rhythm section, bass and drums, I'm a bass player, and vocals. And we did an album, our own album, basically the kind of thing where you stick the cover together and record it yourself and try to send it to people, called Mama, and that was about 81 or something. We were about a year and a half in that format, just as 2-piece. And a friend of ours, a man named Andy Kerr, our guitar player, sort of his band broke up. He was a good friend, the kind of person we trusted musically, and we knew was a good performer, and he joined up the band. And basically from the early 80s, we've been in a 3-piece format with those members. We've done various 7-inch EPs and 10-inch stuff on our own, and then we got hooked up with Alternative Tentacles. And I've done 3 albums and 1 EP with them, and are recording a new album this summer. One of the reasons we're on this tour is we've got tons of new songs to work up, and we're going to try to take them on the road, see how they work out before we head to the studio.
Could you address the label hardcore? My feeling about hardcore isn't so much that it's a brand of music as more of a movement of distribution, self-made scene, if you will.
Yeah, it's a bit of both. I mean, there was definitely a form of music which came out of punk rock, which in Southern California, the States, became hardcore, which was characterized by 14-year-old boys playing extremely loud and getting out all their newly found testosteronal frustrations out. And it was there was a lot of good things done and a lot of stuff that was generic, like any form of music. It had its good and the bad. But you're right, in that sense, we're just sort of part of the system of playing, the circuit of playing, and the circuit of distribution and small independent recordings that came out of. We ourselves really never played that kind of music, although we do, I guess, play a few songs which could be called classically hardcore, but we also play, and have always played stuff that we just basically thought up ourselves and wanted to do something different and unusual. Hence the 2-piece. That was hardly a hardcore band without a guitar at the beginning. But I like the term hardcore because I think it also applies to just an attitude toward making music or a creative endeavor in general. To me, people like Hank Williams is a hardcore musician. Stravinsky is a hardcore musician. It's people who do things with a lot of personal intensity and originality. And it really doesn't matter the form of music. That's more of the basic prerequisite of hardcore to me, is to be trying to be original, trying to be yourself, and doing it with a great deal of intensity and fire. There's got to be a bit of a passion involved. In rock music, it's always been translated into volume. We also play very loud. I suppose in that sense we always call us that as a hardcore.
And influences, were you into the Minutemen, that kind of thing?
Well, we sort of started, we've been playing before we knew the Minutemen. We started around the same time, actually, I think, but both of us didn't, get out to where people knew us for a while. Our influence were mostly, I'm sort of older. I'm 37 years old, and I've been listening to music since the Beatles. And I went through stages of heavy metal, southern rock, fusion jazz, and all of us have different musical influences. My brother's a trained jazz drummer. He came through a big band program in high school and stuff like that. But what inspired us to play as a band and play live and play our own original music was sort of the punk rock explosion out of England. That's how far we go back, to Pistols and the Stranglers and the Clash and people like that. And then again, it wasn't really a form of music because everyone was doing sort of their own thing at that time. There was no sort of as it became later a certain style of music that everyone sort of copied. It was just the idea of, to hell with everyone else, to hell with the music industry. That's a big part of it as well. To hell with the money-making sort of showbiz side of things, and let's just do exactly what we want, be as extreme as we want. And that was sort of inspired us. We saw the Ramones getting away with it, so we figured we could too.
Now, I understand you do quite a bit longer songs, 10 minutes, 6 minutes, that kind of thing.
Yes, I have to admit, actually, the one song that is really 10 minutes, it's got sort of a long ending, and we just snipped it off in the record, so it went to 9:59. We swore we'd never have a 10-minute song of any of our album. But yeah, we have in the past done our epics. We also have songs that are like 1:49 as well.
I personally like longer material myself.
Well, I guess we do because we tend to write them. The point is for us has always been the song itself. I mean, that's why I say when I don't like to really be categorized as hardcore in terms of the style of music or any other style, because we're basically songwriters who play our own music, and the style and the length and the tempo and the mood of the song depends on the song itself, what it demands, what's in it, and so we don't start with, we're going to play a certain style of music and write these songs in that style. We write a bunch of songs and go, wow, how do we approach this? Is this going to be slow, fast? Are we going to cut this down so it's not 9 minutes, or are we going to extend it till it's 15? I mean, and it all depends really what the song demands and what sounds best in terms of the song itself. And to me, if the band has any value, I guess it's in the songs itself. We certainly don't have an image. We're not very pretty.
So what is hardcore good for? Why pursue an independent route, which from all I know is a pretty rough way to go? Yeah,
but it is especially if you're not doing anything particularly original. I think for bands who just want to play what they hear on the radio, it's not the way to go. And that's not slagging them really. It's just, this road is for people who really want to do just their own thing. And trouble is that's very rarely commercially viable. You get the odd exception where someone who's totally original and totally themselves is also completely widely accepted. That's not usual because, and certainly with us, we're not a commercial band and never will be. So why get involved with commercial record companies and commercial booking agents and stuff? People who will not understand what we're doing and who will try to market us in the same way as they do other people, and they will fail, and they'll go, well, these guys aren't making us any money, and we'll be ignored. The way we do it is harder, but in the sense we own everything. We don't work for anyone. We make all our own decisions, both business and music-wise. And over 10 years, it's taken a while, we actually do make some money at it. And we go to Europe, we go all over the world. So we're doing great. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone because it is hard and it is really conditional on what you're doing. You have to have a real solid vision of what you're doing and be doing it for itself, because certainly for years you're not going to get anything out of it in terms of massive fame and groupies and money. I mean, this doesn't happen certainly not on the hardcore circuit. Of course, there are those bands who are just in for 2 or 3 years of incredibly good times and partying, and then they burn out, but we never were that way either. We're basically in it for the music, and we found that this way was the best way to keep our music in our own hands, keep our lives in our own hands. We don't have to work for a big record company and stuff, which is very frustrating. And really, they don't pay. So they try to avoid that as much as possible. And you end up, hiring a lawyer who makes more money than you to keep another fellow who makes more money than you from stealing the money that you do make. So we don't really want to do that either. We probably could get better distribution and be better well known with a larger label and better marketing and stuff like that. But hell, we do all right, and so why change? Why spoil something innate? It's working.
Tell me about the positive end of it. You must have an incredible support system around the world then. Well,
that's one of the things. I mean, we deal with people at the grassroots level wherever we go. We don't deal with a booking agency. We deal with some guy or some kid in Hanover, Germany, or Fort Collins, Colorado. I really don't know who Larry has dealt with there at the moment. Warren Mercer is our manager. He does most of our business for us. We're very lucky to have found him early on in when we started going. But it becomes a thing where you have a good friend in every major city in the U.S. and Canada and Europe, and the people you deal with are people you know, and even your fans are people you know. Eventually, they write to you. They come out to the shows again and again in some places, and the crowd's of course small and everywhere. I mean, it's a fringe audience, and you eventually end up seeing the same people over and over, right? And also, again, like I say, it's basically you control your own life. you do what you want. If you want to work hard, you work hard. If you want to take off for 8 months, which we did after our last European tour, you do that. I think we're really darn lucky. I mean, this is not going to work, obviously, for everyone. There's always the element of luck involved, and just what you're doing has got to appeal to somebody, obviously. You've got to have some sort of audience. You've got to have some sort of business sense. You've got to do some sort of marketing on your own. But we've learned over the years to do as much on our own. Don't leave it to anybody else, and always keep control of it. And that way's always worked for us.
Now, let me understand that your name comes from anti-rape slogan, and let me couple this with another question. Could you give me an idea of the kind of political content that your lyrics might have, that kind of thing?
Yeah, the NoMeansNo, I saw that it's a women's movement slogan about anti-rape, and I saw that written on a garage wall about 10 years ago, and thought that's a great name. And I think it applies in a much broader sense. Also, in the politics, our lyrics is not really direct. I think maybe we've got 2 out of the 80 songs we've written have any really cut and dried political lyrics. What we write about is people and how they deal with each other, which is politics after all, and that's the roots of politics. And so you deal with your wife, or you deal with your brother, or you deal with your friend, or you deal with your employer, or you deal with your neighbors. All these things are the genesis of the larger political dynamics and problems and whatever. And so we have a song called Dad, which we recorded on our first album for Alternate Tentacles, an album called Sex Man. And it's about a father who beats his wife and his children. But it's not done in like, oh, child abuse is really bad, wow, look what's happening here, and names of statistics or anything like that. We just try to tell a story of what would happen to one individual person. The song is written in the first person from the kid's point of view. And so that's not a political song, but if you look at the strong authoritarian father figure controlling the lives of people who are basically dependent on him and chattels to him, that's you could take that as a much broader picture of a lot of societies in general in the world today, politically and in civilization in general through history. So I think if our lyrics, songs have a political thing, it's in that form. It's more of a microcosm than the big picture.
So the issues are kind of intrinsic in the stories then?
Yeah, try to be. I mean, that's up to the listener and people to judge better. I mean, we get inspirations, we write songs. I mean, we can't take it too seriously, and if other people want to, that's fine. But we try to honestly express something that's real to us. And we try to put a lot of emotion in it and try to evoke emotion from the people we're singing to. But whether we succeed or fail, how good it is always up to the audience.
There's a reference in one of the, well, actually, I think it was an interview here, something about being middle-class suburban people. Would you still take that on?
Yeah, definitely. I've lived in. My father was an officer in the Canadian Air Force, and I lived securely in the middle class all my life, and so did Andy and John, and I think hardcore in general in the American, certainly in the American, not in the English, which is a more working class movement, and in Europe too. But in America, it's always come out of deep within the suburbs. That's where you find the wackiest, the loudest, the fastest, and the most crazy bands. And I think it's a reflection on the sort of personal, if not the monetary repression that happens in that kind of society. I think for this kind of music, the suburbs has always been the hotbed of it.
There's a deep-seated frustration with the whole deal.
Yeah, well, I think it's obvious. You know, someone who comes from the ghetto and has no money and there's crime all around them, and the only way to get out is to sell crack, and everyone's carrying a gun. I mean, it's easy to see the problems and what needs to be done and stuff like that, and easy to understand the frustrations of anyone who grows up in an environment of that, or people in the third world, or in England where 25% of the country's out of work and stuff. But what you get from the kids from the suburbs is that we have everything. We have our TV with 30 channels. We have a $20 a week allowance from our dentist father. We go to the best schools. We live in a society which is the richest in the world, and we are the core of that society. And then you get these guys going, but why do I feel like nothing? Why is there nothing here for me? I think because that society is such a cushion materially. Spiritually, it's grown emptier and emptier as the century has worn on. part of the hardcore movement, and why I think it seems to affect people's lives to such a great extent, where they change their hairstyles and leave their homes and group into tribes which are totally, alien to the society they've grown out of. It's a real reaction against the spiritual emptiness and an attempt to find some sort of real human contact and real depth to human life. Often it's misguided and the trappings become just as empty. I mean, anyone who wears a mohawk, it means nothing, but I think it's a reflection of people who are trying to find some sort of deeper significance to their lives than what has been handed to them on a silver plate, and who are also very guilty, I think, in a sense. Why do they wear torn jeans? Why is this all this ragtag look? If you were the poorest person in the world when you come from a split level home in the suburbs. I think it's a recognition that all this opulence is somehow a veneer over serious lacks, serious problems which are sort of unquantifiable. Things that go on in the human head and heart that you can't really put a finger to. And I think that's always been at the back of punk rock in general and hardcore in particular.
Just briefly, can you give me your own description of your own music? Just something general.
God, it's hard to say. It's we used to have a sort of a joke one. Which was it? Post-punk, art funk, jazz rock fusion. we just play loud 3-piece rock and roll, which drives from the emotion.